Hi, guys. My name is Jason from the Gig Economy Podcast, as you all know, and we have Aaron Hageman from DDI. I know Isabel had said when I talked about it on the show, I needed just to say DDI because I was trying to say Delivery Drivers Incorporated, and I was fumbling it. She said, just say DDI, and I'm like, okay, I will do that. But Aaron's been on the show before, and, the CEO of DDI, so we're glad that you're here. We're checking in again. Before we start on some of the topics, why don't you tell us what's new with DDI? I know I got started with Walmart through you. We had an interview and you're like, hey, we do Walmart Spark. And I look into it. And I'll be honest, Aaron, last year that was most of my income for gig work.
Oh, that's good to hear. So
yeah,
I'm glad we could help.
I know it's great. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a great program. When you ask kind of about Spark and also what's new, what's really exciting is the further expansion of that program nationwide. But above and beyond that, there's the idea that it's gone beyond grocery. I remember we talked a lot last year about grocery and just the need and the volume in that sector. But there are so many other products from general merchandise now, other vendors and retailers being able to leverage and jump onto the Spark platform. So it's busier than ever. And the expansion of the products and then the work for all the drivers and the platform behind it is pretty exciting.
So as you know, and our listeners know, I do gig work full time from roughly mid-October to mid-March. And as I was finishing up, the gig season in quotes, I noticed that some people in different areas, like you were talking about, were doing Home Depot pickups and stuff like that. Now, I wasn't able to experience that yet. I'm sure when I go back on the platform this fall, or maybe if I pick up some shifts this summer, I will see that. But at least in Grand Rapids, there wasn't anything around March that was cooking with that. So can you expand a little bit on what maybe some major stores and if it's everywhere now?
So again, that's a program. It's not quite everywhere. So you're really going to see it market to market and expanding and changing all the time. So there's a few retailers that have jumped on this program. Walmart calls this one the Go Local program, to where essentially they can run their own delivery platform, like customers order directly on their website, but then the orders get kicked over to the Spark platform for all the drivers to do. So we know about Sam's Club, of course, and that all 600 plus stores are on that program nationwide. Home Depot is on there. I think we saw Kelly Paints, Chico's women's clothing. What's really exciting is a variety of products really that give more and more, the way I think about it, more revenue stream opportunities for the drivers.
Yeah, for sure. I know one thing that drivers are a little frustrated about in some of those platforms, let's say for DoorDash, for example, when they get those runs like PetSmart and like clothing or something, a lot of times there's not an opportunity for it. Now, I could be wrong, but there's usually not a tip on that. For some reason, there is for groceries and those kind of things, but for that kind of stuff, there's usually not a tip. So I know a lot of drivers that don't take those because, and I don't know if it's DoorDash not offering it or if who knows if it runs through, let's say, PetSmart's platform and then DoorDash is just the third party to fill it. I'm not sure.
It's funny, I've seen that so many times over the years. I think personally it goes by products, and there's some consumer behavior of what people are used to. And so you always might think, man, floral delivery, going to be so busy as a driver. It's great. So I see you laughing because the customers never know. They're not expecting it or waiting to tip and things like that.
Yeah.
So we try to do our best. And I think all the drivers out there need to, be loud about how much the earnings are on the delivery runs themselves. If you know that there's less tipping, but the economics are there, hopefully the delivery fees are going to be a little bit higher for those jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line, a driver wants to make a certain amount. So if the fees are great for the driver without a tip, I'm not complaining. I mean, there's been several times on the Walmart Spark app that I've had 0 tip, but the money lined up for me for whatever I wanted to shoot for, and so I took it. But
yeah, the algorithms are strong as long as the computers are out there looking out for everybody.
Oh,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's. I mean, your business has been exploding just every month. I swear there's a new app out there, and we talk about it our podcast every 2 weeks. There's always a new app, just people just creating ideas and making extra money without working that W-2 job. So
yeah, one of the things that I was thinking about, and I know we were chatting before, is with the rise of the overall volume of delivery in every space over the last few years, when you think through the pandemic and such, from grocery to Home Depot to everything is delivered now. What's actually interesting is that there's a whole return economy of, what do we call it? The reverse last mile returns being done. I looked at some stats that there was $761 billion in returned goods last year.
And all of it went to Amazon.
Exactly. And it's up 78%, but it's such a crazy conversation. There's a kind of subset of apps and a subset of businesses that are now just going, hey, we'll come pick it up at your house as the starting point, and inverting the whole process because there's enough business to be done there. So it's early, but it's exciting. We'll see what comes there.
Yeah, we've talked about that on the show, and I think DoorDash is dabbling in it. We'll return your FedEx or UPS for a certain amount, but like, usually the returns are free, but it's like, okay, now I got to, you're going to charge me $5, and then I got to tip the guy. So now I'm at like $8 or $9 to return this package. So I don't know if the money's there for a consumer, but if the companies like Amazon would roll it into their program, well, then that's a game changer.
I think, like, not to get too nerdy about this topic, but what we're here to do, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? We have to make it free from a convenience standpoint, because convenience is what's sticky for the customer. That's what we all love. That's it's easy, it's free, it's, whatever, to be able to say, I hit the app, they're going to come pick it up at my house. I don't have to worry about a box, a return label, an $8 charge, to your point. But when you look at the retailer side of the conversation, it's really difficult because of the economics on the other side now. How many times have you used an app? I don't know what it is, Amazon or DoorDash or whatever, and you're like, hey, you messed up and forgot my apples. And they're like, keep it, or, you sent me the wrong thing, and they go, keep it. We'll just send you another one.
Right.
Because it's cheaper for them with the logistics infrastructure to get it to you to just do that again.
Yeah.
Versus have to figure out how. So this conversation goes further, but the retailers need the density. It's why you see the DoorDashes, the Ubers, and the Walmarts of the world being able to say, hey, we've got enough going on in this city that there might be a driver there that it makes sense now to just have them run over if you say, hey, I need a pickup on demand.
Yeah. And it adds another revenue to drivers of, who knows what that could be. But so another thing I want to talk about is the Walmart home pickup services, or kind of what we do for Spark. Walmart has just launched, what did they say? Like, their goal is like 20,000 vans, electric vans, that they're going to deliver your groceries into your home. And even put them away in your refrigerator. And we talked about that. I'm like, no one on the show said, yep, I'm going to sign up for that. We thought it was a little creepy.
It's funny. I remember being in the meeting a couple of years ago where, it's like the annual thing. We're all talking about executive planning and what's coming down the line. And this conversation, going into wet rooms and doing deliveries, being able to go into garages, designated areas. It made sense to go to lockers and Amazon lockers, but this is another level. It's interesting. I'm with you, to be honest. I don't know if I would use this service, come on in while I'm playing around golf or something and drop my groceries off. But there appears to be, an interest in it out in the market.
Well, they're spending money on those vans, and they're putting a lot of money into it. My thought was, why don't, you talked about the Amazon lockers. Why can't they do something for non-perishables for the customer? Like, if you sign up for our Walmart Plus thing, let's say they bump it up, $50 more a year or whatever. We'll give you this refrigerator, freezer that we'll put in your garage. See, I'm fine with that. I get Amazon packages delivered to my garage. I'm totally cool with that. I got a camera in there. They can open the door, close it. I've had no issues. But the house is just weird. So I think if they offered some sort of, discounted price for a, refrigerator, freezer, something small in the garage, I think I'd be on board. But I don't really want people in the house. I mean, yeah, you're licensed and bonded, whatever. But we know sometimes the background checks aren't as sufficient as they should be.
It's an interesting technology play because you got right to the last comment there with the background checks of something we've had to consider and look at from DDI side.
Yeah.
right? As the HR partner for the 1099 drivers on this, we have to go in and do the screening and match the drivers with the retail partners based on their level of screening and what their vehicle types are and what you're interested in doing, right? Well, in this particular case, your security requirements go up pretty significantly. So we have to be able to make sure and consider that the dispatching technology and such is only going to, give it to a class of drivers that are available for this. So as I think it through, it just creates more problems, right? It's smaller and smaller challenges of, okay, now we need a subclass of drivers in this greater market to be able to handle it, or that are eligible, or you're going to create a higher bar for all drivers across the board. That's one piece of the technology. The other side, I know, has had a lot to do with the identification and identity work around like the Ring technology, because we can authorize a keyless entry using some of the doorless entry pads and things like that for specified window. So when the app knows that the driver's coming, it's only going to open your home to that person for, a limited period of time, things like that. So complicated.
Yeah, I mean, I love all that tech. It just, again, I'm not sure I'm comfortable letting someone in my home. I'm just not there yet. And maybe it'll be like we talked about driving cars too. Some people, like, I'm 46 and I'm fine with it, but I have some friends that are like, nah, they're not into it. But like my kids, like, they're 10, they're gonna be like, when they're our age, they're gonna be like, you're so.
I was just thinking, Jason, like you and I are like, we're the graybeards on the call.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just the way we're thinking here, because we're going to push this conversation to a broader concept of the sharing economy. Right. Yeah. And, just being able to move in and out. And, I'm in an Airbnb. Oh, I'm using Turo for a vehicle. Do I really need to own much of anything more and more? And the concept of, this fluid society. And if we have good cameras and you have identity work, you kind of only know who's in there, and you can see if somebody's in your house and they steal something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's a different generation and mentality of, people growing up in a different technological culture.
And honestly, with the cameras and stuff, I don't think they're quite there. I mean, maybe Ring is, but I use, it doesn't matter, but I use a cheaper brand of cameras and they work okay, but I would never rely on them as like my son. I have an older son, but he's like, what about this camera system? I'm like, I use them, but I would not rely on them on a security system where, like, if something happened, you would be like, called, but we're getting there.
But at the end of the day, if I take a big step back, I wonder, and just, would want to dig into the economics. It feels like one a whole lot of juice for, is the juice worth the squeeze here?
Right. Exactly. So we talked a little bit about AI. A lot of Walmart, even we're talking about Walmart, but I think maybe a month ago I watched the first drone from Walmart. I'm not sure what state it was in delivering, and then of course Amazon has talked about that too. What place do you think as for you? What is your opinion on that AI stuff? And again, it could be us. We're not quite boomers, but that boomer talk of like, no, not in my watch. But I think it's cool. I don't want it to replace me. And I personally don't think it will ever be able to replace like a food delivery. I don't know. Not quickly, as far as like, how am I going to pick something up from Chipotle and a drone or something is going to be able to get it? I don't know. I still feel that there's a role with human interaction. So what's your opinion about that? What do you think?
It's a fun topic. There's two sides of it. One, as always, I tend to start with the product. Like you had said, can I get this delivered? I think there's a certain class of products that are going to maybe fall under not hot food or maybe cold food that lend themselves to certain types of deliveries, right? And then there's the technology on the other side that I often think about, because there's drones are one piece, but you say AI, I start to think about driverless vehicles and things of this nature as well. So it's an interesting topic. I appreciate why there's so much investment into this because of the long-term need.
Yeah.
And in the short term, I often say, we hear talk on this side of the conversation around what, the great worker shortage and great driver shortage and the great resignation and these concepts on here. So with a tough labor market, rising demand in our world of delivery and on demand and all things, transportation, there's a gap. There's a gap in volume versus labor. So, in an interesting sense, I welcome the robots. We could use their help in a certain sense, because I think there are certain areas of delivery that don't have, to this point, maybe enough volume to keep drivers' earnings great. So the drones and robots may work well in those outlying markets, but then there's certain products that may make a lot of sense. Metropolitan areas where you're in Hong Kong and you've got to deliver 75 stories up. And if you have groceries and I can just do that through a balcony drone, does that make sense? Maybe. I think we'll get there. I appreciate the early investment. And it's fun to see all the big companies that have the resources. I mean, we've been talking a lot Walmart here, but you can jump right over to, Ford and General Motors and GE and all these other companies that have been investing into their segments of this world of automation through the, logistics space. It's exciting because I think there's definitely a future here.
I agree with you with a lot of it, but I think it's a slippery slope. I said that slow because I knew if I said it fast, I would mess it up. That, okay, you're right. And automation is great there, but then they're like, oh, this is working pretty good. So let's move it in here and then here. And then before you know it, the gig worker is gone and, maybe there will be something else for them to do. But I like the idea, but again, it worries me a little bit. Now, probably I'll be done working before that really is an issue, but future generations might struggle.
How many years, Jason? What's the over under on how many years before you call an Uber and there's no human in it when it's
I'm saying 10.
Okay, I'll take the under on that.
Okay,
I would take the under before 2032. Yeah, I think we'd have it before then.
Really?
No, just a guess.
Yeah.
So I think the early test, the early deployment to see partnership programs in this market, pushing this market, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Because there's going to be a lot of failure on that. There's going to be a lot of it that just doesn't work.
Right. So tell me a little bit about what DDI does as far as we kind of know about the driver, but what about the entrepreneur out there that has a few employees and just, doesn't want to deal with all the rigmarole of, taxes and all that crap? Is that something that you guys do? And, what's the minimum level that you'll help somebody set something up like that?
That's a great question. Thanks. We focus on supporting 1099 worker networks, really independent contractors, supporting that entrepreneurialism. We've got the roadmap of all the different, regulatory rules in the different states, whether you're in Michigan or California or Arizona, wherever you're at. And we really help businesses, big and small, support that. So to your question, if there's anybody who has driver networks or 1099 networks that needs help with that, we can help with that. But if they have even a handful of, say, employees and they're considering other options, we can help them take a look on that side. What's great is we built a fantastic tech platform that really lets companies big and small participate. So we've got small owner-operator networks with, a handful, half a dozen drivers, in their local markets that actually work through our platform, and we can help them just like anybody, bring the tools to the table to automate the onboarding process and give digital wallet platforms and things like that for the drivers to get paid.
Oh, that's really cool. So yeah, just to clarify, it's 1099, not regular W-2 work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we chose to stay in that lane, as it were.
Yeah,
cool. No pun intended. So
yeah, that's really cool because I mean it can be stressful as a business owner to try to figure that stuff out, especially how do they get paid and those kind of things, and you can help them through those hurdles.
And the rules change a lot. We've done it over 20 years, and we're in another one of those phases. We ebb and flow with this of high activity, but we're in a high activity phase of people's interest in defining W-2 versus 1099 workers, right? Prop 22 in California. We've got a copycat bill coming through in Massachusetts, things of that nature.
Yeah. Oh man. I my buddy Steve from Rideshare Rodeo. I don't know if you've ever talked to him before, but he goes hard in the paint on AB5 and all that stuff. And it's crazy. Obviously I want to be an independent contractor, but then I have a buddy that has a little Prop 22 money that comes in, and he's like, he says it's about 10% of his income. He works in California. So I'm like, You know, I just
look written. That might make sense. I mean, to see, you know.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I want more protection for the gig worker, but I don't want a boss. Like, I don't want a W-2. I already have one of those. I don't need to work and to do that. And as we've said before, you know, like, what is it? Like 90% of gig workers work less than 20 hours a week. So they don't want to be an employee.
Yeah, no, these days more and more the generational shifts behind us. This is the focus. This is what they would prefer to do.
Right.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that middle ground compromise out there that leaves all of the independence and the freedoms, but then looks out for the drivers and the workers, if you will, for some of those baseline programs, maybe baseline injury insurance, minimum wage considerations. I appreciate some of those things. Other countries, I'm sure we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Other countries outside the United States have that middle tier, you know, dependent contractor or whatever the verbiage may be, class that's similar to this sort of hybrid status.
In your opinion, how can companies maintain the loyalty with these drivers? We've talked about the bone. Like right now, it's not the pay. They're not increasing. They're increasing the rates in regards to, let's say, rideshare driving to the customer. I mean, I don't know if you take Ubers regularly. I don't, obviously, but you may. And the prices are going up, but it's not coming to the drivers. What, in your opinion, would be how can Uber keep a driver on the Uber platform and vice versa? I know the easy answer is money, but is there anything else out there?
It is, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the answer is money. I mean, yes, let's take money and say, okay, that will help, but it doesn't also change the mercenary nature of keeping them on the platform. So
yeah,
we need to look to the term we look at and the team we built on the backside for DDI is what we would call engagement. And really looking at, okay, supporting the 1099 worker. We do survey after survey after survey. What's important to you? What are you looking for? What do you want? Education, business education. How do I do my taxes? How do I set this up? Do I form an LLC? Can I take this a little bit further? Is an interest on here. Having a variety, and something I'm really proud that we built at DDI with some partner programs out there, having a variety of, you know, quasi benefits and insurance programs for the 1099 class of worker out there, from the traditional medical, dental, you know, and vision and things like that. But, you know, we get drivers that participate in legal shield programs and pet insurance programs. Where am I going with this? All of these things matter. But what I've learned is in a contract world, you don't have one real common denominator of worker. We have a whole variety of worker. And we need to have the array of offerings out there that are going to matter to them. So you need the competitive pay programs that don't nickel and dime the workers, next day pay, digital wallets, things like that. You need to give them the insurance options if they want those things. And when you do that, you're going to find that this 10% over here and this 8% over here and this 15% over here stick around a little longer on your platform, because suddenly they're, you know, hey, I got a vision insurance program just related to it over here. So it's not the answer, but it's what we're looking at right now. And then and the other side of this to money is really embracing the independent status of the 1099 workers, fighting for the opportunities to work on multiple platforms and multiple times, and just keep those income streams coming. I mean, when you kind of round out the working job on here, I think we can create scenarios where, you know, you can have a driverpreneur out there.
Yeah. What it sounds like is you want the Uber contract. You want to be in
those guys. They're maniacs. I don't know.
Yeah, they are maniacs, dude. Like, oh, that movie or that show came out on, I think it's Showtime.
I haven't watched it yet. I really need to. I shouldn't say that on the Gig Economy podcast, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I've watched one episode and it's nuts. Gordon Levitt or whatever his name is, he's great on it. So anything else as we wrap up here? You want to let the listeners know as far as anything coming up down the or up the line, down the pike, whatever they say, for anything new with DDI that I should even be looking for coming up? Like, do you have another gig for me that's in the works that I might be able to do this fall?
Yeah, always, right? We're always looking for more stuff. You know, no, I just want to say thanks. I mean, it's always good to chat with you again and do the show. You know, as we plow ahead into the summer, I know our plans are there's just more growth needed. I think our team had approved 10,000 driver opportunities nationwide last week. So really, and again, that's nationwide. So it's a handful here, a handful here, a handful here. But there's a lot of work out there. So truly come to ddiwork.com, check it out, see what's in your neighborhood on there. There's always opportunities. We keep waiting lists with our tech platform these days in certain markets to be able to keep pinging opportunities because I know everybody's looking for jobs. So as we look forward in the second half of the year, I know we're going to be busy. So yeah.
Cool.
You can help us by come helping us.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, like Aaron said, DDI.com, right? No.
It's DDI Work, WORK.
Yes, DDI Work. Don't look up DDI.com. I've done that before. It's something else. So it's not porno though. So you're good there. So just
Fair enough.
All right, Aaron. Thanks so much.
Good to see you, man.
All right.